begin this morning with the leadership crisis in the main opposition People's Democratic Party, with growing calls for the national chairman, Secondus, to step down. He has defied his opponent, insisting that he will not resign. Georgina Ndukwe Eziayinka has the latest development in this report.
Making an appearance at the emergency meeting of the PDP Governors Forum, Secondus told journalists that he remains chairman until his tenure elapses.
I'm not a member of Governors Forum, so you just better wait for the end of their meeting. I just came to see them. I confirm to you that I will not resign.
While the fate of the PDP chairman is still uncertain, the PDP caucus in the House of Representatives has joined in demanding for his resignation. Now, this is coming on the heels of the call for the resignation of Secondus by 4 deputy national chairmen, those of the Southwest, Southeast, South-South and the North Central, along with 2 other members of the National Working Committee. The 6 members of the National Working Committee said they were forwarding their decision to the Board of Trustees, the Governors Forum and the National Assembly caucus of both the House of Representatives and the Senate. After several hours of Monday's deliberations, the chairman of the forum, Aminu Tambawal, announced that the party is working earnestly to ensure the issues within the party are resolved as quickly as possible.
We have discussed extensively on matters of the moment concerning our party, and we have collectively resolved to continue to work together in unity, and this meeting is continuing tomorrow with other stakeholders.
The Governors Forum could not conclude its deliberation on Monday, and their meeting continues on Tuesday with caucus members in the House of Representatives and the National Working Committee members in attendance. Georgina Ndukwe Eziayinka, Arise News.
However, there were more positive steps taken during the meeting yesterday. One of them is the consideration of an early date for the party's national convention, as against the initial date of December 9. Meanwhile, the calls for Secondus to step down as PDP chairman are unrelenting. A group of youths in the party say he's no longer competent to lead the party, especially with the huge number of defections. They stormed the party's national secretariat in the nation's capital, Abuja, with banners demanding the exit of the national chairman. The youth leader says the party has lost its relevance as an opposition party and cannot speak for the masses anymore.
All the whole PDP member will be unified with one voice. Not when the National Working Committee will be divided, the Governors Forum will be divided, the Executive will be divided. We want a unified PDP. That's what we are clamoring for. That's why we said Secondus has failed. Okay, let me just take an instance. What happened in Cross River Northern election? There was division. There was division in the election. The people that were sent to monitor the election were divided. What was the cause? Money. The person that was sent to monitor the election, the 5-man committee, led by the national legal advisor, he's the architect of all the problem. All what is happening to Secondus, the national legal advisor is the architect. So what we want this administration should be nullified. There should be a Congress where we'll have a new PDP.
PDP as a party cannot afford to lose any more governor, any more states. Penultimate to the Southern PDP Congress in Osun State, I know how Prince Secondus and his group, we are launching an attack on Governor Makinde of your state. If not for the will of the people of the Southwest, we would have lost Governor Makinde to the APC. We have been seeing up Secondus through his spokesman, Mr. Ike Abonyi, has been calling with Governor Wike names, calling for the Christmas governor. Tell me, waiting for the Christmas and tax collector, which is better? PDP lost by the election, if not for the grace of God and the prayers of the saints that touched the fraudulent deputy governor of APC to allow the Supreme Court return the power back to the PDP.
And in the governing All Progressives Congress, there was apprehension early in the day yesterday when at the National Secretariat, where it seemed it may have been taken over by security personnel. However, according to the Secretary, Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, John Akpanu Dodehe, the security alert at the Secretariat was due to intelligence information which was taken care of. He told journalists that the office of the National Chairman of the Caretaker Committee is not threatened in any way as a result of the Supreme Court's judgment.
We want to repeat again. The Supreme Court judgment, the full detail of it, confirm the authority and the position and the decision that was taken by NEC of the APC. The office of the National Chairman is not under any threat, as far as we are concerned. So don't try to link or insinuate. No, it's not. It's a normal administrative measure to safeguard life and property. So don't link it. If you have a momentary happiness because you are spreading rumor, it's nothing to us. We are used to it. Well, it is a proactive measure to protect lives and property. We're privileged to read security reports. As you're aware, we have the presence of police here. We have the presence of all the security agencies. They are here. Now, it's a proactive measure. When we receive security report, the normal thing for any administration to do is to secure the lives and properties of the secretariat and of the party members.
Well, let's begin with the main opposition party, the PDP. Despite the growing calls for Uche Secondus' resignation, he doesn't seem to be a man on an island yet. There are those who also are backing him. The likes of Senator Seriake Dixon says, no, we cannot have the chairman leave just yet.
I mean, it's a very touchy situation. And like you talked about Senator Seriake Dixon, former governor of Bayelsa State, backing him. But the point of Seriake Dixon is, this man, even if you want him to go, put it through the convention. That's his point. If you want him to go, don't just put him out now and say caretaker committee will take over, because we're seeing what is happening with the APC, and we've seen the quagmire this caretaker committee has put the APC. And there's another part that says we want him out. So the contention is those that have cool heads and the other ones that say, okay, you know, let's just take him out once and for all. And that's where the contention is. And we did ask a question here, that will it be able to survive the onslaught? After the first time, we thought that, okay, things had settled down. In the last 1 or 2 weeks, they've had a couple of meetings. Sometimes you think the meeting will tilt in his favor. The governors are meeting again today, but what are the facts of the matter? There's a big division in the party. This fight too has segued into the pre-existing fights we have in the House with Honourable Chinda and Elumelu. There was a statement that was issued out yesterday that said the PDP, caucus in the National Assembly said, okay, they want him out. Honourable Elumelu came out and said that's not true.
In the House of Reps.
In the House of Reps, we are not putting out that statement. The Senate has been touchy about it. When Naira was called to talk about it, he said, okay, the Senate is on holiday, but anything the BOT does will align with it. So it shows you that there's a big two tensions in the House. And there's also the youth wing, of the parties that some people will say is aligning with some, part of the political parties that want him out. Obviously, when you see the reaction of the youth wing that protested, you'll see that, they want him out. That's what they want and nothing less.
Okay.
But most importantly, how they tread softly in this time will matter greatly. Because the PDP is so quick to abuse the APC and say, look at what they're doing. It's caretaker committee with Maimala Buni. And when you segue that into that court ruling that happened between Keridulu and Eita Jagade, but the big question is, will they allow cool heads prevail?
Right.
The APC has their own challenges. We all saw what happened yesterday. A lot of questions. Yeah.
Dr. Bati.
Okay, I think very clearly in both major political parties, the two dominant political parties in Nigeria, this is all about 2023. And this is all about the permutations for the zoning of the presidency in 2023. And it's like this, I may be wrong. I said yesterday that there is no ceasefire in the PDP, and I've been proven right. And that is what was demonstrated yesterday when the Governors Forum led by Aminu Tambuwa met. They met for 6 hours in the Akwa Ibom Lodge in Asokoro, and at the end of the day, they didn't arrive at any resolution. They are meeting again today with stakeholders, precisely the committee set up last Thursday by the Board of Trustees. Well, at the end of the day, the big issue, unless it is resolved, we may not move forward. What is the big issue? You will recall that governors of the South insisted that the presidency of Nigeria, rather, in 2023, must come from the South. Is it not possible that what we're seeing here is some forces within the PDP saying that, look, if Uche Secondus is allowed to have a second term in office, then it will be very difficult in the PDP to zone the presidency
to the South.
Now, if you take a further look at it, all the deputy national chairmen that resign, they are all from the South and the North Central, South, Southeast, and North Central. Nobody from the North. So if you take Uche Secondus out, then that makes it possible for the PDP to field a candidate from the South. Now, if you look at the APC, forget about the use of force and all that talk by Akpaduehe, that is to protect the property of the party secretariat. It's all about 2023. After the Supreme Court judgment in the Ondo State governorship election, you see that the support for Mai Buni is coming from the North. The opposition is coming from the South. There are forces in the South who want Malam Mai Buni removed so that, you can make somebody else the chairman of the party, properly speaking, beyond legalism. And then, of course, if you have a northerner properly occupying that position, there's no way you can zone the presidency within the APC to the North. You have to pick a candidate from the southern part of the country. I think that this is the subtext. But the issue, therefore, is that who is going to make the sacrifice? I know Prince Uche Secondus personally, well, for obvious reasons. But, he's a man of very strong conviction. But what we're hearing within the PDP is that the convention may be brought forward. If the convention is brought forward, will he go to court and say that his tenure has been abbreviated? Would the various stakeholders negotiate with him and assure him that, okay, if you step down, this is a game plan? I think that there is a breakdown of communication in both major political parties. But as ordinary Nigerians will say, well, if the PDP is in this state, the APC is in this state, is it not possible for another political party to organize itself and emerge as an alternative? But of course, we are in very difficult times. We're in COVID times. And to organize politically, you also need resources. So who are those persons who will provide that third force? There was a group that came up earlier, but obviously, after some initial appearance on the front pages of newspapers and photo opportunities here and there, those who were driving that initiative disappeared. We hope that there will be enough persons within the elite class who can provide the direction that we need. Otherwise, APC and PDP will need to resolve their problems.
Right. Well, that's all on the news headlines. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Roger Zodiri, Michael Wilson, myself, and Aaron Akaridala to give updates.
All right, welcome back to the morning show right here on the Rise News channel. Rotus, we're going over to you this morning. How are you, Rotus?
Fine, thank you. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning, Adesua. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning to all our viewers. Big news coming out of Rivers State. High Court in Rivers State has ruled that the federal government cannot collect value-added tax. That is supposed to be within the jurisdiction of the state. And this has ramifications. The suit was filed by the Attorney General of Rivers State, and the defendants are the FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, and the Attorney General of the Federation. The court ruled that the federal government has no constitutional basis to collect VAT, and that should remain in the purview of the states. They, of course, also said a whole bunch of legal language in there that the constitutional power of the federal government to impose taxes and duties is limited to items listed on 58 and 59 of Part 1 of the second schedule of the 1999 Constitution. The federal government, of course, put forward some rebuttals that were dismissed by the court. One, they said that the court didn't have jurisdiction over this case and it should be at the Court of Appeals. Two, they said the National Assembly should have been mentioned as a defendant, but the court dismissed both of those. This has ramifications. I mean, if you think about the value-added tax, it's remitted into the federation account. Federal government keeps 15%. The remaining 85% is distributed to the states. Lagos State, of course, makes the lion's share. In fact, let's take a look at internally generated revenue for 2020. You can use this as a proxy for who makes the most contributions to VAT. Again, this is internally generated revenue for 2020, though. So Lagos State, of course, you see 418 billion. Look at River State in second place at 117. There are only 2 northern states in the top 10 for 2020 when it comes to the highest amount of revenue generated. And the implications of this is, one, if you think about states being able to keep their value-added tax, what it means in terms of revenue. Look at a state like Lagos that contributes what, about 85% of VAT across the country. What would that mean for you to keep it? Also, beyond issues, revenue boost, think about the path to true federalism and productivity on behalf of the states. Some states will have to sit up. Remember we talked about in, November 2020, about Kano states destroying 200 million naira worth of alcohol due to Sharia laws or so. But yet, Kano, which coincidentally is what, 5th place, Kano is in, as far as IGR is concerned. Yet, some northern states that don't generate as much VAT end up having, they get from the proceeds, the pool. So if this goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and some are saying that's where it will go, federal government will probably appeal, and this will go all the way to the Supreme Court. If River State prevails, then states can now, states have to be more productive, as we know, in that they can all keep their VAT for themselves. So other states who are benefiting from the VAT pool will have to be more productive. Two, different states can then set their own VAT, sales tax, and so on and so forth. Think about how it is in the United States. I lived in New Jersey for a while. New Jersey has lower sales tax compared to other states. Some states in the United States don't even have sales tax. So it all depends on, it's all very independent. So, if you think about the Federal Republic of Nigeria with 36 subnational governments, as far as true federalism is concerned, the conversation around restructuring, this could have huge ramifications if it goes all the way. So that's that. The rest of the stories today, I'll just quickly run through them. Lagos State's Assembly has approved the complete ownership of the LCC, that's the Lekki Concession Company, which was a special purpose vehicle that was set up for the Lekki Toll project, as well as the Koi Link Bridge. That's essentially, Lagos State has essentially taken over the shareholding interest, the majority of it, about 75% or so. And there's a loan attached to this that was provided by the African Development Bank to the tune of almost $60 million. That's now going to be converted to a state loan backed by the federal government. There will be a monthly deduction from the statutory allocations made to Lagos to pay for that loan, which is going to run until 2034. Now, you remember the NSAS protests, the fact that the tolls are not generating any more revenue. So there's that tricky issue of how you get the tolls back up so that, revenue can still be collected from those tolls. That's another story. Finally, the central bank, 2 stories on the central bank. Just one quickly, they've said that they disbursed 3 billion naira to about 7,000 recipients of the NYIF, the National Youth Investment Fund, a total of 75 billion that was set up there. And also spraying money. Central bank says that they don't have the jurisdiction to enforce laws related to abuse of the Naira. As you know, there's a law that says you can't deface the Naira, you can't spray it at parties and so on. But I think in Calabar States, one of the central bank officials there, while they were talking about their 5-year plan between now and I think 2024, said that, look, we can't enforce this. We have to rely on the EFCC and other agencies to do that. And that's our African business update.
All right. Thank you so much, Rotus. Real quickly, I think the juiciest matter here, and something that sounds like music to my ears, is the VAT story. So this has shown, to a large extent, that the state does have that autonomy. If a court can prove this, it has shown that the states have autonomy. And it goes back to that grand conversation on federalism. I mean, I don't want to use the word true federalism because there's nothing like true federalism. It's either federalism or nothing. States to be able to handle their resource and be able to pay a certain portion back to a central purse. That has always been the case in Nigeria when we had the regional system. As it collapsed after the war, and because of that, everything now goes back to that sharing formula where the federal government makes the collection and shares back to the states. There's a sharing formula, there's sharing quota as regards that. If this is pushed forward, it will now mean that states like Lagos can actually make a lot of collections. I use it in terms for infrastructural development. What it will further mean is the fact that states can go one step further and have that full autonomy. Because the argument states always make is about money and resource. It's about what they get. It's about how they can manage their resource. And value-added tax is one very important part of this. But another grand question is, if you say, okay, states can collect this, what is the value of economic activities that comes out of value-added tax that accrue to the states? Are some states even viable enough to produce enough economic activities to collect that value-added tax? Because when you check this out, it will be skewed along the state lines. States like Lagos will still collect more VAT than any part in this country. I mean, states like Kano that are destroying, Hisba police is destroying alcohol and things like that. So monies like that, they will definitely lose it because if they don't believe in it and the sale of alcohol is stifled in their state, then they can't collect value-added tax on that. Apart from this judgment, the question again will be, what is the economic activity viability threshold in those states? How economically viable do we have economic activities that can even provide a room for you to collect those taxes in the first place? But it's a good one. States should hammer on this. And we've always supported state having full autonomy. And apart from value-added tax, they should go one step further to create, more economic prospects for themselves. They should go into production. They should make more money for themselves because value-added tax is just one of it. But it is a welcome development that I feel states can run on and get more money and invest in infrastructure in their states and invest in social amenities in their states.
Well, I mean, this has been a very controversial issue in Nigeria. And I hope that in this particular instance, maybe more states will join. On the question of the VAT, value-added tax in Nigeria, there's a report, I think, by Arthur Anderson on the plethora of cases that we have had. There's the Ukala case, there is the Aberuagba case, and there is also the Nigerian soft drinks case versus AG Lagos State, in which, there has been an attempt by the courts at the High Court level to define what should be the proper jurisdiction in terms of who collects VAT, who administers it, how is it shared. And I wouldn't be surprised if, following the case that you have cited, that there will be an appeal, and that perhaps maybe more states will join in the suit so that we can have a proper definition. What we're dealing with here is fiscal federalism. And it's also part of the politics of how Nigeria itself is organized. There are many states in Nigeria who say that, look, and they insist that we're not running a proper federal system. Why will you collect VAT on certain items, say in Lagos State, on alcohol? I mean, in Kano State and some other Hisba, propelled states in the northern part of the country, they say alcohol is banned. And yet you collect VAT on alcohol sale in Lagos, and you put it into the distributable pool under Section 162 of the 1999 Constitution, and the people of Kano State will enjoy the benefits of what they have not provided. So I think this is a very important matter, but this is not the end to it yet. I would like to see more states, like the Aberuagba case, which is an Ogun State case, the Nigerian soft drink case, which is a Lagos State case, the Ukala case, which is a federal case, to see more people, testing aspects of the law in terms of how we share what is defined under Section 162 of the Constitution. And in any case, it's not just state governments that are concerned. Even ordinary people, are concerned. Why should I buy a product in Lagos State and the man who benefits it is a man who says that that particular product is haram and is somewhere there in Gombe or Yobe State, And then, of course, the bigger argument about the amount of VAT that we collect. The official argument is that we have one of the lowest rates in Africa. But look, that's another argument that can be resolved. But where there is any disagreement whatsoever, our position has always been test it through the mechanism of the law. Now, second point you raised, which is also of interest, has to do with the Lekki Concession Company. You know that Lekki Concession Company was at the center of the hashtag EndSARS 2020 protest. And because of that protest, the private partnership parties running that toll gate, the one at Lekki toll gate and the one on the link bridge between Ikoyi and Lekki, they've not been able to return to business now. And they appeared before the panel set up to resolve this matter. And, they wanted to return. The panel, even, the quasi-judicial panel even granted them leave. But people opposed it. Now, all of a sudden, the executive in Lagos, the government, sent a bill, a request to the Lagos State House of Assembly on June 21. And expeditiously, the matter was considered. And by Monday, the Lagos State government has now been given the leave to take over full control, including all the liabilities of the private partner that is involved in this. Now, the question that many Lagosians are asking, who is behind this Lekki Concession Company that the State House of Assembly will act so expeditiously to use state machinery and state resources to pay off all the, involvement of that particular private partner and then take it over. I think whatever it is that the Lagos State government is doing, we need more details. We need transparency. And I think that the people who chose those locations as the center of activity under the hashtag EndSARS protest would like to have more information. And the Lagos State government should not fail in that regard. As for the spraying of money, the CBN has said that it is not its responsibility because it is not a law enforcement agency. The Section 21 of the CBN Act is very clear that the abuse of the Naira is a punishable offense by 50,000 Naira fine or 6 months imprisonment or both. But this is one of those laws, like bigamy, that is a dead law in Nigeria. In Nigeria, even when you marry at the registry, you can take another wife, you can take a third wife, you can take a fourth wife. And this Section 21 of the CBN Act is beginning to emerge as a dead law because every weekend you see people abusing the Naira all over the place. They not only abuse the Naira, when you go to a bank, they give you dirty notes. When you go onto the streets of Nigeria, you buy fresh mint notes on the streets of Nigeria, and the police, even police chiefs, they also do Naira plunking with new notes that they have bought, at the venue of political parties. So we have dead laws in Nigeria, and maybe what the CBN is saying is that Section 21 of the CBN Act is dead, effectively, because nobody is enforcing it, and there's nobody that has ever been arrested for abusing the Naira. So that's where we are.
Right. That's where you got insights. Okay, we'll just quickly move, and thank you so much, Rotus. We'll quickly move on to business update. Michael Olsen joins us now from London. Michael, great to have you. Good morning.
We're looking at fears of a major surge in COVID in Southeast Asia, and that's really rattling everybody overnight and this morning. Caution about, on the one hand, you've got recovery coming from various economies. On the other hand, you've got increased worries about COVID. So shares in Asia Pacific then fairly mixed this morning. The Samsung declined. We had news yesterday that the firm's J.Y. Lee is set to be released on parole later this week, and that, for some reason, upset investors. Mainland Chinese stocks relatively unsettled this morning. Hong Kong edged about 0.25% higher. We had those factory gate prices from China yesterday. The material costs are clearly rising. Prices, well, they're beginning to level off very, very slightly, but there are inflationary worries now in China and the slowdown of their economy. I have to say, slowdown relative to their rapid rise, not slowdown as far as the rest of the world is concerned. As far as the United States is concerned, let me recap for you a very messy and directionless session. The Dow down about 106 points, worries about COVID and global growth and all the rest of it weighed on investors, quite honestly, and US stock futures relatively unchanged for this morning, or rather our time this afternoon, and a summer really of what traders are looking at describing as indigestion looms, basically. However, we have those magnificent jobs figures from the United States on Friday, but it doesn't tell a true picture of what's actually going on there, because figures I'm looking at this morning show that there's a record number of job vacancies in the United States. So jobs vacancies jumped, look at this, jumped by 590,000 on the last day of July to 10.1 million. So basically people are not going back to work, and that was just above another record, 9.5 million set for June. So plenty of work available in the United States, not the workers to fill it right now. The US Senate is going to pass, it looks like, that $1 trillion infrastructure package. There'll be a vote at their time this morning, our time at lunchtime, about that. But the most important thing about this is no tax rises in that. That's why the Republicans sort of voted for it. And secondly, no debt ceiling. And what it also does, very interestingly, I think, is to show that the Trump influence is fading from the Republican Party. He issued dire warnings about Republicans who would vote for this. They seem to have disregarded it. Amazon getting further into the buying process. Now, what they're doing is they're saying that people who buy third-party goods from Amazon, because which most of them are, can actually complain to Amazon if they're not proper, and they want to claim personal injuries, it puts it here, or property damage claims, and so on. For a long time, there's been this plague amongst Amazon third-party marketplaces, counterfeit, unsafe goods and so on, and expired dates on goods and all the rest of it. So that's Amazon getting involved in that. What will that do to their growth prospects? I think that's open for discussion, because once you start to get into the returns business, it's and all the legal stuff as well, it starts to become extremely expensive. As far as the UK and EU markets are concerned, we expect a relatively quiet session. The quietude, if I can put it like that, from Asia will bleed into the UK and the EU markets. The BBC is reporting that the UK former Prime Minister David Cameron made millions from Greensill Capital, and one of their programmes is in possession of documents about that. Mr Cameron's spokesman said that remuneration was a private matter. Greensill, as you know, collapsed after the insurer refused to renew cover for the loans it was making. UK shopping slows a little. The return is sort of back to the high street, but not really. It's mostly online and so on. And the regulators in the UK are making it continuing to allow us to get to cash in ATMs and all the rest of it. And they are going to review whether banks should be closing their local branches or not. I know that countries, particularly like yours, for example, are used to paying people not with cash, but with mobile phones. That revolution is still to take place here. Commodities, oil prices, a bit of a rise, but delta hedging or the delta COVID thing will continue. Gold and other precious metals appear to have found a bit of their mojo. There was a flash crash yesterday. They've come back, but against inflationary pressures, people are looking more and more to precious metals. So they just may be on the rise again. That is your global view.
Right, Michael. Real quickly, I want to talk about Bank of England this morning. Flirting with the idea of a digital sterling. I mean, what's the viability of that? They're saying it could probably be a hedge against inflation. And because of the crackdown of tech businesses in China and listings and the likes, Chinese billionaires have lost $87 billion in value. There goes state capitalism at its finest, served with caviar probably.
Bank of England digital currency, a possibility certainly. What I've said about it in the past is this is not Bitcoin and it's not a cryptocurrency. It's a currency which the Bank of England, the central banks would like to use. It shows where they actually are going to put money and where that money is actually spent. So it's a way of them controlling and having a better view over how things are actually spent. What was your other point? Was
Chinese billionaires have lost $87 billion.
Okay. Yeah. Reported on this yesterday, as you know. Jack Ma and the rest of them and Pony Ma are suffering because of this. It again is a mystery to me and a mystery to most observers as to exactly what the Chinese authorities are actually doing. All this does is it increases the risk. The risk additive to people actually wanting to invest in China. They do want to do it right now. But when you see authorities acting like this, it doesn't matter how much the billionaires have lost. Who cares about the billionaires? What we're interested in is what is the overall landscape for regulatory performance and regulation in China. That is something which remains a mystery right now.
Well, I mean, we have very limited time. We've almost run out of time, Michael, but very quickly. We are very optimistic about the precious metals, but gold has been struggling. Silver has also been struggling, but you say maybe we will see a rebound. What is that based on? What are the hints from what you know? And then quickly, the People's Bank of China yesterday released its quarterly report, and that report is sounding very much like the position taken by the Federal Reserve about inflation. The PCOB is saying that it's controllable, and it's also saying what it needs to do is to just manage liquidity. What are your thoughts on that in terms of the details of that report?
I think that what's happening in China with the central bank is exactly as you say, echoing what other banks are saying. They have to look through these spikes of inflation and take a longer term view. In China, it's very easy to do that because all you do is you can manipulate the economy by pumping money in, which they're very good at doing. As far as inflation and the Bank of England is concerned, that's exactly what they're doing right now. They have to take a longer view. They can't take any notice of the spikes. That's central bank. I think we're going to look forward to Jackson Hole, basically, and see what the discussions there are all about.
Well, I asked a question about the precious metals and the basis for your optimism.
Precious metals, very briefly, all I'd said about that is what I said this morning, is that inflation appears to be rising. In that case, precious metals start to come into their own. I'm not talking about precious metal used in the manufacture of electric cars. I'm talking about gold and silver. That is the reason. There was a flash crash yesterday. It's come back very slightly. It's not a golden future. Gold, as you know, is still testing that level of $1,800 an ounce. I don't know when it's going to get there, quite honestly. But that's the sort of slightly 2-day, 3-day view at the moment. Inflation fears, therefore precious metals increase in value. They always have.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael Wilson.
Right, thank you.
Again tomorrow.
Thank you, Michael, once again. Adesua, over to you. COVID?
Thank you. Well, COVID-19 has killed more than 4.3 million people globally, according to the latest statistics from the Johns Hopkins University. Over 203 million people have been infected globally. Vaccinations across the globe as well is picking up. 4.4 billion doses administered. Please remember that most of this require 2 doses for full vaccinations. Here in Nigeria, 9 states are responsible for the latest 422 new infections reported officially in the country. Lagos State posted the most cases with 190. Closely followed by Rivers State with 86 new infections. Meanwhile, Nigerians waiting to take COVID-19 vaccines will have to wait longer as the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 has postponed the rollout of the second batch of vaccines in the country. Well, according to a statement issued, the Phase 2 vaccination program, earlier scheduled for today, has been postponed due to what was described as unforeseen circumstances. It is now scheduled to commence on the 16th of this month. The Presidential Steering Committee will be holding its weekly briefing today. We expect to get more details, but I believe we would also be hearing from the head of the Food and Drug Administration Agency in Nigeria very soon here on the morning show. Elsewhere, coronavirus cases and hospital admissions in the U.S. have reached a 6-month high. Fueled by the Delta variant, the number of new infections have reached 100,000 for 3 days in a row. That's a 35% spike from last week. But this is coming as the Pentagon prepares to make vaccination mandatory for all U.S. military personnel by September 15th this year. And President Biden is backing the plan. In memos distributed to all troops, top Pentagon leaders said the vaccine is a necessary step to maintain military readiness. The date is September 15, but if infections continue to rise, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says the deadline could be accelerated. And to Iran, where the state TV says one person is dying of COVID-19 every 2 minutes, as the Middle East's worst-hit nation reported a new record daily toll of 588 fatalities yesterday. Authorities are complaining of poor social distancing. The state media says hospitals in several cities have run out of beds for new patients. And the government has also been criticized over slow vaccination, with only about 4% of the 83 million population fully vaccinated. Total deaths in Iran has reached 94,603, according to the Ministry of Health. Cases also rose by 40,808 in the past 24 hours, to give the country a toll of over 4 million in a fifth wave blamed on the highly transmissible Delta variant in the country.
Well, the spokesperson of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 in Nigeria, Wale Bassi, has talked about unforeseen circumstances. Lai Mohammed Alaji, the Minister of Information, we quoted earlier, has talked about administrative issues.
Yes.
I think we need greater clarity as to why in Nigeria it is no longer possible to roll out the second batch of vaccines today donated by the United States through the COVAX facility.
Yes.
And UNICEF, because after a delay of about 3 weeks, after the initial COVAX facility donation of about, or supply, if you like, of about 4 million doses had ended in early July, Nigerians expected that there will be no hiatus, that the vaccination program will continue at pace. Then now, we've been told that we have to wait like another week before this rollout will continue. One of the concerns that I had was that, one, when Willie Bassi first gave out information, he said the rollout will be at the Federal Medical Center in Jabi, Federal Capital Territory. And I was worried. The 4 million doses from the United States, will it be only in Abuja? Or what is the plan in terms of the distribution? The previous time, we were told that many states were given doses. Nigeria had its first rollout on March 5. And then all of that ended first week of July. What is the plan? What is the program this time around? I think we need greater clarity. This particular Moderna vaccine, which is an mRNA vaccine, we were told after its arrival in Nigeria in the first week of August, was taken up by NAFDAC,
yes.
And that NAFDAC had approved it. The question to ask is, did NAFDAC discover any other thing that has caused the situation in which we have found ourselves? The projection by Nigeria is that 40% of the population will have been vaccinated by the end of 2021, and that by mid-2022, Nigeria will have succeeded in vaccinating up to about 70% of the population. We're completely off target. That is as clear as daylight. Now, quickly, because we don't have time. In the case of Iran, Iran is the victim of its own politics. In the last 24 hours, Iran has had over 40,000 cases. The death rate in Iran is over 9,000, and the situation is getting worse. Now, Iran is saying that it will not accept vaccines from the United States, despite the fact that the sanctions, the reimposed sanctions of 2018, state clearly that food, medicines, and humanitarian assistance will not be affected. Iran is relying on its own COVID invention. It's called Coviran, what they call the Barakat COVID program. Well, I don't know whether anybody has heard of Coviran, although Iran is also part of the COVAX facility. So what Iran faces, like most countries, is a crisis of leadership with Ali Khamenei, the supreme Islamic authority in that country, playing politics with human survival.